Hey everybody, this is Erica, the technology nerd who likes to film stuff, and it's been a while. So I've been taking a really nice long break to just have time to assess where it is that I want to go with this channel next. And I've decided that I really want to talk about gaming so much more. It's my thing. So Animal Crossing New Horizons release is on the horizon, and I can't wait to join the community surrounding it, so stay tuned. And yes, I pre-ordered the Animal Crossing Edition Switch. Who do you take me for? Anyhow, I've been so enthralled with the Switch that I completely forgot about the 3DS until I picked my unit back up again. I started up New Leaf and tons of feelings came flooding back. I left my town abandoned for over a year. How could I? And my husband came to that same horrific realization, and we've been trying to make it up to our villagers since. I've been enjoying myself so much that I bought the console I had my eyes on forever to mod as well as ask the question, is the 3DS still worth it in 2020? Heck yes it is! So let's revisit the 3DS, then show how I modded this adorable Happy Home Designer console to make my ultimate 3DS. Now realize something, Nintendo consoles take on a retro life of their own. So a console might not be in the mainstream eye anymore, but I guarantee the retro gaming community gets nostalgic and picks them back up again, giving them new life. It's been that way for every other Nintendo console, and I don't expect this to be any different with the 3DS. So starting off for why the 3DS is still worth it, it has a prolific catalog of games, and that's not going to change, but they will become more expensive as they become more rare, so you might as well stockpile now. We've got Link Between Worlds, which has been absolutely amazing. We've got Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, Animal Crossing New Leaf, Super Smash Bros., Mario Kart, Metroid Samus Returns, Super Mario 3D Land. I'm getting overly excited just listing these titles. We've got Luigi's Mansion, Pokemon Sun and Moon, and on and on. This is a phenomenal library of games. Plus, and let's not forget this, the 3DS supports the full back catalog of DS games, which look absolutely fantastic on the 3DS XL in the native pixel mode, which you can access by holding the start or select button when the game is loading. Then we have the eShop, which doesn't look to be shutting down anytime soon, with digital 3DS titles to download, as well as indie titles and virtual console titles. So we've got a variety of Game Boy, Game Boy Color, NES, and SNES titles. It's just incredible how many games you can play on this system. I did begrudgingly await Game Boy Advance titles to arrive on the Virtual Console, other than the few that were released only for the Early Adopter Ambassador program. But for some reason that never happened. Hopefully we will see Game Boy Advance titles on the Switch, but if not, I've got an awesome Pikachu SP to play them on, so I'm not left in the dark. An example of a console that has taken on a completely new life. Something else that makes the 3DS worth it, especially to me, is it's customizable. At this point in time, it has themes, and the Switch does not, besides the default black and white ones. I don't know what Nintendo is doing there after 3 years of it being on the market, and still no theming. The themes available on the 3DS are incredible, they're adorable. You've got themed wallpaper, themed folders and icons, as well as themed music and system sounds. What I've always found utterly delightful is that when you open and shut the console, we get a theme sound. I've also really loved the pedometer that counts my daily steps. I still take my 3DS around with me to collect my steps and play coins with those steps that I can of course then use to build puzzles in Plaza, buy fortunes in New Leaf, and even use to buy hints in games like Link Between Worlds and Box Boy. This is so novel and fun that I can only hope Nintendo does something like this for the Switch in the future. After the release of the Switch Lite, I don't buy anymore that the Switch is meant primarily as a home console, so no excuse to not release more mobile features, Nintendo. The 3DS also has StreetPass, which the Switch doesn't have, and Nintendo claimed it won't. But we'll see, considering that hidden LED notification light that surrounds the home button. I know Nintendo shut down StreetPass Relay in 2018, which if you don't know were little hotspots that collected data from all who passed with their 3DS and then passed it on to anyone else who came through that same spot. So if you went to Best Buy or if you went to Starbucks or such and so, it would collect your data and then send it off to other people who came through there. So we have a drastic reduction in street passes we encounter, but it's a real joy when I find that I've come in close proximity with someone who still has a 3DS, because thankfully the close proximity street passes still work, and should always work as it's not reliant upon Nintendo's servers, to my knowledge. So game stores and general nerdy spots usually yield results in my experience. And thankfully, when street passes are few and far between, you can still use play coins to enjoy Mi Plaza's features. I'm quite disappointed nothing like Mi Plaza exists for the Switch. It created such a feeling of community in carrying and using the 3DS. And then there is the novel and unique two-screen gameplay, which I've always really loved. This is the way that it's been since the DS, and we're finally seeing that leave. Not to mention that the unit folds shut to protect the screens. Also, since the DS, Nintendo stuck to their guns with the stylus for the bottom screen to interact with games and the system. Something I still find incredibly useful is the notepad, which lets us take notes about the games we are playing so we don't forget what we're doing later on. Why doesn't the Switch have a game notepad, Nintendo? I don't get it. Then, of course, the most controversial feature that makes the 3DS still worth it is the 3D gameplay. Especially since the release of the new 3DS XL that has face tracking to keep the effect consistent, even when you move so that you never lose the sweet spot. The feature is seamless, makes 3D actually enjoyable instead of gimmicky, like on the original 3DS, and helps to pull me into the world of the game I'm playing. Link Between Worlds is an excellent example. While many games didn't take full advantage of this feature, it's one that I've really missed since moving over to the Switch. If you had a true hatred for the feature, Nintendo later released the new 2DS XL, which was a 3DS in every other way, and it's the only model now that you can buy in stores. And finally, the 3DS saw the release of many cool-looking units, as did the new 2DS XLs, including the Animal Crossing themed ones. So I have two of them. I have nearly completed my collection with the Japanese Happy Home Designer unit that I could not initially play, aside from DS cartridges because it was region locked and only in Japanese. But it's been a hoot to see that Google Translate could live translate for me using the camera on my phone, so I could test everything before modding. So for the second half of this video, I want to show what the mod entailed. I finally built up the guts to learn how to take the 3DS apart for things like screen swaps, button swaps, and swapping the boards. I had been searching forever for a dual IPS new 3DS XL unit because of how awesome the viewing angles are on the IPS screens versus the TN screens. And arguably, some say that they look more saturated as well. It depends. And for your reference, all of the Switches have IPS displays. So of course, I'm going to want the best screen experience possible on my 3DS. Realize this only applied to the new 3DSs. I think the original ones all had TN screens, so no lottery there. That search for the best screens was completely nuts and futile, so I figured I would get the body I really wanted with a button scheme that I thought looked best and just mix and match screens from what I already have to make it dual IPS. Now, interestingly, this Japanese unit came dual IPS, perfect screens, no issues, right out of the box, just like I was looking for. Go flipping figure. So that saved me a lot of time with this modding experience. And it makes me wonder if the Japanese units just generally got better screens. I don't doubt it. Now with this mod, I don't want to be very detailed. I just want to show you what all was involved. So let's get into it. So for this mod, I used my custom painted Pikachu unit from Controller Chaos. As it had been opened before and had the buttons that I really wanted, good to learn on. My small Animal Crossing new 3DS unit has colored buttons that look great, so I wanted my new unit to look that same way. So taking the units apart wasn't too bad, as I have a toolkit from iFixit. Really recommend having one of these. With the right tweezers and screwdrivers, I used the Phillips 00 head. So of course, remove all the accessories, unscrew the body, carefully remove the bottom casing, as there are two ribbon cables attached to the board for the shoulder buttons. Now use tweezers to get the right leverage and unplug the little flex ribbon cables all over the board, including the circle pad. Some connectors flip up and others don't, so the biggest thing is knowing which ones not to flip as not to break anything. Then unscrew the board, carefully lift it, and unplug the last flex cables for the top screen. It's a bit nuts how this is arranged, so I took a pic so I could do this properly in reverse. So after harvesting just the main board from the Galaxy/Pikachu unit, I did the same process to the Happy Home Designer unit, swapped the boards, then did everything in reverse to get them back together, ending up with a Japanese LL unit with a North American region motherboard. My heart was pounding for the big moment of turning it on, drum roll please. And boom, it turns on. Perfect. I instantly put in Majora's Mask and everything worked perfectly, thankfully. Bright, adorable, Animal Crossing themed, colored buttons, and dual IPS screens that are uniform in color on the top and bottom, no dead pixels. I'm crazy, I know. Seriously though, if I was Japanese and got this unit to begin with, I would have never bothered going on a wild goose chase to find the perfect 3DS unit in the first place. I seriously might just start importing Japanese products in the future. So yeah, the 3DS is still very much worth it in 2020. And I'm going to have a lot of fun now that I've got a unit I completely enjoy. The 3DS simply offers things that the Switch does not. It has an excellent library of games and a huge back catalog that will keep me busy for years. It also helps to realize that Nintendo is not and has never been about the most powerful hardware. It's all about the experience, and my 3DS feels just as awesome today as it did the first time I laid my hands on one. So let me know what you guys think about playing one of these in 2020. And if you would be brave enough to do what I did to achieve the perfect unit. You probably just think I'm crazy, but that's fine. So this has been Erica the Technology Nerd. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for my unboxing of the new Animal Crossing themed Switch, and have a good day, you guys. Bye!